There's a guy in Tampa who owns 17 rental properties. He works 60 hours a week managing them. Another woman in Austin runs a print-on-demand store that generates $4,000 a month. She spends 30 hours a week on customer service, supplier issues, and marketing. A third person built a course that made 6 figures last year. They're currently rebuilding it because the platform changed and half the content is outdated. None of them have passive income, but all of them will tell you they do. The passive income economy is worth an estimated $400 billion globally. That number includes real estate investment trusts, dividend portfolios, online courses, affiliate marketing, print on demand, drop shipping, content royalties, and about 40 other business models that promise the same thing: money while you sleep. The pitch is always identical: build it once, earn forever, freedom. Laptops on beaches, 4-hour work weeks. And technically, some of it is true. The problem is what happens between the Instagram post and the bank account. Because passive income isn't a lie in the way most people think. It's not a scam. It's not impossible. It's just profoundly misnamed. And that misname has created an entire generation of people optimizing for the wrong thing. Let's start with the least passive income: real estate. Rental properties are the oldest form of passive income in the modern playbook. You buy a property, rent it out, collect checks, build equity. The math works. In theory, if you buy a $300,000 duplex with a 20% down payment, finance the rest at 6%, and rent both units for $1,800 a month each, you're cash flow positive by about $400 a month after mortgage, taxes, insurance, and maintenance reserves. $400 passive, every month, forever. Except the tenant in Unit A just called. The dishwasher is leaking. You're liable. You send a plumber. $350. 2 weeks later, Unit B's tenant breaks the lease early. You spend a weekend cleaning, repainting, listing, showing the place to 8 different people. You lose a month of rent finding someone new. $1,700 gone. Then property taxes go up. Insurance doubles because of climate risk repricing. The roof needs replacement in 3 years and you don't have $20,000 saved. So you take a HELOC. Now you're paying interest on the repair loan. You are no longer passive. You're a small business owner with illiquid assets and a very angry customer base. And here's the part that breaks people. Real estate only becomes passive when you hire a property manager. That costs 10 to 12% of gross rent, so your $400 monthly profit just became $90. And if you scale to 4 properties to make the math work again, you now own 4 separate businesses with 4 separate problems happening in parallel. The people who succeed in real estate treat it like a job. The ones who fail treat it like passive income. Digital products were supposed to fix this. No tenants, no plumbing, no physical risk. Just create something once and sell it infinitely. Courses, ebooks, templates, stock photos, beats, Lightroom presets. The marginal cost of selling the 10th copy is the same as the 10,000th, and that part is true. But building the product is 5% of the work. A successful online course takes roughly 200 hours to build if you're doing it right: scripting, recording, editing, hosting, platform setup. Then you need a sales funnel, email sequences, a landing page that converts, maybe a lead magnet. You'll probably run ads, Facebook or Google. You'll test 5 different audiences, burn through $2,000 learning what doesn't work, and optimize into something that generates a 3-to-1 return if you're lucky. Then the platform changes its algorithm. Your ad costs double. Your email open rates drop from 30% to 11% because Gmail updated its filters. Someone launches a competing course at half your price. You haven't made a sale in 6 weeks. So you rebuild the funnel. You add a webinar. You go on podcasts. You post on Twitter and LinkedIn every day to stay visible. You answer questions in Facebook groups. You create free YouTube videos that feed the top of your funnel. Congratulations, you're a full-time marketer with a side product.
The only people making real money from courses are the people selling courses about making money from courses. And yes, that's recursive. And yes, that's the point. Dividend investing is where the fantasy gets closest to reality. You buy shares in companies that pay quarterly dividends: Johnson & Johnson, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble. You reinvest those dividends to buy more shares. Compound growth does the heavy lifting. In 30 years, you have a portfolio worth $2 million, yielding $60,000 a year. This works, but it requires three things nobody talks about: time, capital, and patience. If you invest $500 a month into a dividend portfolio averaging a 7% annual return, you'll have about $600,000 in 30 years, which generates roughly $24,000 a year in dividends, which is not enough to live on unless you've already paid off your house and have no debt. To get to $60,000 a year in dividends, you need about $1.5 million in principal. To build that in 20 years, you need to invest roughly $4,000 a month. Most people don't have $4,000 a month, so they start with $500, get impatient at year 3 when they've only made $6,000 total, and they're either quit or they pivot to something riskier, maybe options trading, maybe crypto, maybe they buy a course. The irony is, dividend investing actually is passive. It's just so slow that it feels like failure. Here's what nobody tells you. Passive income is a stage, not a strategy. It's what happens after you've done years of active work to build a system that can run without you. The YouTuber earning ad revenue on old videos spent 3 years uploading weekly with no monetization. The app developer earning from a mobile game spent 18 months in development and 6 months failing at user acquisition before one title hit. The word passive describes the end state. It does not describe the process. And the process is always longer, harder, and more expensive than the thumbnail suggests. In 2021, during the peak of the passive income gold rush, a survey of 6,000 online entrepreneurs found that 68% made less than $1,000 total from their passive income ventures. 12% made between $1,000 and $10,000. 4% made over $50,000. That 4% didn't get lucky. They treated it like a business. They ran experiments. They failed in public. They spent money on tools, ads, education. They worked nights and weekends for 2 years, and eventually they built something that generated revenue while they slept. But they didn't start there. The biggest casualty of the passive income movement isn't the money people lose, it's the time. Because when you're optimizing for passive, you're not optimizing for income. You're optimizing for the appearance of freedom. And that makes you vulnerable to every business model that front-loads the promise and back-loads the work. Dropshipping, print on demand, affiliate marketing, Kindle publishing, YouTube automation, TikTok shops. None of these are scams. All of them can work, but they require the same thing every other business requires: attention, iteration, customer understanding, and the ability to survive long enough to learn what you're doing wrong. The problem is they're sold as shortcuts, and shortcuts don't compound. There's a version of this story that ends with advice: start small, reinvest profits, build systems, treat it like a business. But that's not the point. The point is that passive income has become an aesthetic, a vibe, a lifestyle brand that sells better than it performs. It's not that the income doesn't exist, it's that the passive part is a myth we tell ourselves to avoid confronting a simpler truth. Making money requires work. Sometimes that work is upfront, sometimes it's maintenance, sometimes it's optimization, but it's always work. And the moment you accept that, you stop chasing passive income and start building real income, which, oddly enough, is the only way to ever make something passive. If this kind of breakdown is useful, this is exactly what the channel does. No hype, no shortcuts, just how the system actually works. Subscribing just means you won't miss the next one.